Thanks for staying with us. So we have a specialist agriculturist, Mr. Amotunde Banjoko, to discuss how the nation can address the rising cost in the prices of food items. Welcome, sir, to the show.
Good morning, Maura. Good morning, everyone.
So we know you're a farmer,
yeah,
and obviously you produce quite a few produce. Now, costs of food obviously has increased, and many have said it's because of transportation, of the factors. In your view, what do you think has caused this increase in prices for food?
Transportation is just one of it, probably even the least of it. We are suffering from what we have neglected over the years that we didn't pay attention to, and a lot of things we can lay claim to. One is, transportation is one, but that's even more recent, that transportation is really biting out on us.
Yeah.
But I would want to look at what we agreed as a nation some years back. For example, in 2003, all the presidents in Africa came together, had what they call Maputo Declaration, and said, okay, for us to be able to attain a level where we can feed ourselves as a nation, in 10 years, we'll be doing 10% of our annual budget into agriculture, will grow at 6%, and will be good. But out of that, only about 6 nations follow that principle. Nigeria, for example, we do about 1.3, we do 1.4 out of our budget. And why that is even extremely low, the annoying part or the painful part is even the 1.4 doesn't get to the agriculture space. So that's
1.4% of the budget.
1.4% of the budget. Like 2022, for example, we are doing about 1.8, but even the 1.8, when you look at the breakdown, you are sure the impact is
not going to reach anywhere.
So, for example, you look at the breakdown. Let me just, if I could give 1 or 2 points. For example, a portion of it is going for street lights, solar street lights, 740 million. You ask yourself, street light, you see, for example, about 620 million going for toilet in market and schools.
And that's agric.
No, it's agric and rural development. So they can sneak under that. But some of those projects are actually repeated projects. So you also look at this. Irrigation, for example, will do, I think, about 2.2 billion for irrigation. But it was not mentioned where the irrigation will be done. So they just irrigation. So I can't query anybody. So if I don't say anything, I can't query anybody. So when you look at what has been our spending pattern into this critical aspect of agriculture, aspect of our lives as a nation, then you can be sure that we are not doing too well. When you also look at the institutions that should be supporting this, most of them have not been active. And they've like the Bank of Agriculture, they've not been active. I want to use that word carefully, but they've not been supporting as we should be seeing the impact. And when you also see most farms shutting down because of fund and the rising cost of operation, and there's no support, that's when you need such organization to say, okay, we have these issues. I can't go to a commercial bank and take 40%, 30% to operate in 12 months. You need structured finance to be able to run agriculture. That's one thing I tell people, because I work with investors, you have to have structured finance. But now we don't have such. The few guys that were able to do that didn't learn the ropes. Most of them got their hands burnt. Some other ones are coming up now, and with consultation, some of them are beginning to learn how to fund agriculture.
So is that someone to, these are obviously observations, and because you're a player, our budget is not enough. We need the Bank of Agriculture to support the operations. Who are you reporting this to? Where do you escalate this to?
Not to escalate. I'm sure if we do a poll now this morning and ask people, what's the name of the Minister of Agriculture? I'm not sure if anybody here can.
The top of our heads now.
I can't remember. I know Adamu
But, Mahmoud Abubakar. So that tells you how active they've been.
The person is.
So do you?
Because we don't know because you are.
So where do you report them to? Who do you report them to?
Wow.
That's what.
No, but I think that there should be. We can always report. You know what I would say? We can always report because. I heard at the burial of former governor of Oyo State, the governor saying that he wrote letters to him
Okay.
Like the former governor wrote letters when he saw there were issues going on to advise the governor on what he should do. They might not respond to it, but you write those letters and you send it to the ministry. I feel strongly that the agricultural sector is very, very wide.
Yeah.
There are many places. We want to talk to you specifically about the rising cost of food and how we can bring it down. That's why I interrogated you small before the show time. Because I want to understand, you do cassava, but you're not selling your cassava to
Regular
open market. You're selling your cassava to where the money, where the money is sure and it will come out. How do we create, how do our governments, because every cassava person I know, they don't sell to Gari people. So Gari is still being produced largely by subsistence farming.
People,
The people that are doing massive, they sell to companies for starch, for flour, and those things. And so Gari will remain expensive, even though cassava production is increasing. How can the government intervene to say, I want our country consumes Gari?
This volume.
How do we get Gari affordable, as opposed to you selling to...
Okay, let me use the Gari analogy, for example. We are the largest producer of cassava in the world. We are doing about 59 metric tons now. And so we should be proud and all that, but we are not. And the issue is we're not even producing enough. Even despite the fact that we are the largest producers, we still have a deficit of about 12 billion tons to be able to meet up. And the deficit we're talking about is even before this morning, because I know I'm part of some other projects of some new factories coming up. So I think where the issue are really, government has been bringing different initiatives. For example, the one people know about the Ankara project and all that. And when you look at what CBN submitted at the end of 2021, about 1 trillion has gone into that project. But you look at 1 trillion into this project, what effect has it had? When you look at the way it was designed, you can see that there are some areas they could have probably worked with practitioners to design it, not just technocrats or consultants designing the project. You know, there was a day in Abeokuta with the commissioner and we were having a conversation on it, and I told her, I said, when you look at the way these things are being done and the return you are giving to an individual for participating in this project, no young man will do this. No young man, because the program was designed in such a way that, okay, you can only do this size of land, you can do this size of land, this is the estimated return. It's not encouraging. So you have to do it in such a way that, so some of those projects can actually support the growth we are looking at, can bring in more people. Government has the resources. We only need to work with I think I suggest more of a private partnership, kind of private-public partnership.
Yeah. Okay, so, you know, we have heard of government intervention when it comes to rice. And people would, you know, argue that the foreign smuggled rice is better and cheaper than the one that government has put is all, and it's supposed to be local to us. Apart from the cost of production, people have alleged misappropriation of funds with Nigerians themselves. Is that a honest, true, factual problem that we are facing? That is Nigerians themselves sabotaging government interventions?
I think my response to that is really, when you also look at those factors surrounding the production of the rice itself, and you look at how many people have abandoned their farms, large-scale farms, because they can't produce in that location anymore. Now, some of us even engage security personnel before going to farm. You have to call your security guys, I'll be coming tomorrow, is it okay, and all that. You have to do that at your level when you're not a governor. You have to inform people, and you have to plan your movement. And you have to disguise, as it were, before you can operate and produce, because I'm in production primarily. So, because of ransom, you want to pay ransom and all that. So, I think the security aspect also has affected it, beside it, and that has also affected the cost of production. So, and really, when you look at the policy surrounding the imported rice, I still see it myself physically. You still see them bringing it through the border.
Yes, everywhere.
You still see them bringing it through the border. So as long as they are bringing it in, it's going to be difficult for the guys doing it locally. So, but you know, there's a lot of factors. I was in Benin, last month, and some fish farmers Atlanta was around, and they invited me on my way to the airport that I should just stop by at the farm. Their farm is behind, Uniben Hostel. And it's a crop of farms, fish farms, and then you could see the erosion dividing the farm already, cutting them off. So they are producing here.
But they can't get the
So,
produce
no,
across.
so you have to. And Uniben is building hostel in that same place.
Okay.
And you could see the gully erosion, massive one. So they are being cut off. So now bringing those products out is going to be difficult for some of them.
Yeah.
So these are some of the, like Mariah said, transportation, but you are now producing again to bring them out. It's also another issue that people are struggling with. And then when you also look at closely to that I feel pain about, we look at the statistics we have for people that have been displaced by erosion, flood. In 2012, Nigeria statistics gave about 1.3 million displaced, and about 400 deaths, 17 trillion lost. 2019, I'm bringing it closer. 2019, 255,000 displaced, 250 deaths. 2020,
Wow.
2.3 million people displaced. I'm telling you, these are Nigerian statistics, 2.3 million displaced and about 59 deaths. So as long as we have people, and we had flood in about 27 states last year.
Yes.
27 states. So as long as people are being displaced from their farms, and these are largely farming communities. So as long as people are leaving the farm,
Food produce will go up.
Food produce will still, the price will go up, because we now have very few people producing very little.
Less food.
And then
So, sir, in layman's terms,
Yes,
people
please.
will be watching and be wondering, what is English you are speaking? How can the price
Calm
of
down.
rice or tomatoes or pepper or onion come down so that at least we have that purchasing power? By comparing our salaries to what, like a few days ago, I sat down to draw up a budget. I normally don't work with a budget. I just bounce in and bounce out.
Bounce out.
Almost. When I bounced in and bounced out, the thing hit me.
Did you,
And I had to sit down.
was it a full bounce out?
No, it wasn't a full. I had to draw up the budget. I'm like, I'm not even earning enough to fund this lifestyle that I have. So some things has to be adjusted. What do you need as an agriculturist, or what does the agricultural sector need the government to do to ensure that at least we earn something and we're able to feed?
Okay, let me look at one or two areas that I think we can quickly address that as a nation. One is we have a storage capacity of about 1,050,000 metric tons, but we are using about 260 of it.
Why?
Meaning we are not, even when we had enough, we are not storing enough. I drove past the one in Benin some days back. You can see them, they are just upon them. So what we need to start stocking.
Storing
We
food.
need to start stocking, because when you look at, for example, let me also link that to the data we got for 2020. We've not gotten that of 2021. Our post-harvest losses was valued at 3.5 trillion, meaning the food we wasted.
Yes.
That we didn't
How do we
eat
avoid
at all,
the waste?
3.5 trillion. And you know, the waste starts from both the farm, like
Okay.
I just give an example, some people can move their produce out.
So the fish will get
So
exposed.
fish, not only fish,
Produce.
produce generally can't even get from. That's why at times people always bank on when they are traveling on the road. I'll buy on the road.
Okay, let me quickly pause for a second. I'll be right back. Stay with us. Be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So I would say this conversation is quite disheartening. And the reason why it's disheartening is because I've been saying proudly that if there's anything that you can say this Buhari government have done is agriculture and infrastructure. Those two things, I know that we are seeing activity. But now you're coming to say, yeah, it's not as I thought.
As glamorous.
So it's not as glamorous as it was. Because
It's not even as successful.
you know. So these are the issues you're having, and I'd like to maybe ask you again. How do we escalate this to ensure that the government, there's a government part where they help us to ensure the infrastructure, the issues of the gullies, the flood. There's the natural issues, and there's the human issues. We, the people, also, we're all part of this problem. So just like BC has said, how do we therefore ensure all these three various stakeholders do the work they're supposed to do to ensure that food is cheaper?
Okay, so maybe I'll try and cover all areas. One, let the government encourage more people to come into the industry. They have a way, they have ways to encourage people to come into the industry. I tell people, how many people want to become farmer? If you ask children, what do you want to become? I'm not sure you get any of them saying I want to become a farmer. And Nollywood has also not helped us. You rarely see them portray a farmer in any Nollywood from using Range Rover.
Yeah,
always
and there are farmers
portray-
using Range Rover in this country.
They always portray farmers looking dirty, looking
Carrying
tattered.
holes.
You know, I've been to places and people ask you, are you sure you're a farmer? And I try to just show them some picture when I'm on the farm. But at full time, that's what I do to feed my family. That's what you used to feed your family. I said full time. And you know, when some people hear some of the things that God has helped you to achieve, they wonder, are you sure from farming? It's a full-time. And so one thing is the media can help change the narrative. The government can put structures that can support the system.
Can you give an example of like 2 practical structures?
One, for example, 2022, the government says they are recapitalizing Bank of Agriculture. I'm looking forward to that because it's going to be a major break. For example, they are also working with the Brazilian government to bring 10,000 tractors in Nigeria to manufacture that with 50,000 equipment. So if they do that, that's going to, because you go to some local government, no equipment to work. And then also when you look at, with our population, we have low yield.
Our seedling.
No, low yield per hectare. Meaning, I plant cassava on 1 hectare, I'm expecting 20 tons, you are getting 8 tons. Wow. So, no, for several reasons. People cannot afford fertilizers, people cannot even afford to weed when they need to weed. They can't afford what we call agri-best practice. So, we need to start enlightening people also on that as individuals. We do that. I work with people to do that. You enlighten people. I'm working with other partners now and investors to see how we can bring structured funds into the agri space. Funds that will be for 3 to 5 years and that can support irrigation, because that's also one area that we've been lacking.
Yes.
We can't irrigate most of our farms.
I'm listening to you and I feel that our problems are deep.
No, they are not deep. They are not deep.
So my question now is,
they are not
now
deep.
listening to you, most of the time, as you say, when we talk about agriculture, we really see it as just subsistent sizes. Yeah. How many, can you tell me, how many commercial size farms and farmers?
We have a lot. We have a lot.
Oh, okay.
A lot. Sizable farms that you can't work Dangote sugar factory, for example. You can't work it. You have to drive hours.
So we have like in how many?
Sizable farms. Okay. But some of them are specialized. Okay. That's another thing. Some of them are probably into sugar cane for sugar.
But so they're not giving food. See the question I asked earlier. Even those that are farming big, they're not farming to feed you. They're not farming to give you garbage. They are farming industrial. So we have big farms producing for manufacturing. We don't have people giving us food to eat. So we need food. We need beans. Beans is big. Are you doing beans? How many industrial beans farmers do you have? We don't have beans on the industrial level. We don't have gari on the industrial level for us to consume. We don't have yam on the industrial level for us to consume. Our everyday consumption is being done by small farm holders. And we need to move
but really, if you go to Benue State, for example, that we all know when it comes to yam, beside some industrial work, if we can manage our post-harvest losses, we'll have enough yam coming into Lagos, going to other parts of the country from the north central.
And they did not get displaced.
Yes. So if we can manage our post-harvest losses, for example, in 2016, I worked on a project on how to preserve plantain. Because you go to the Euro market, thank God I'm in the midst of, blessed am I, in the midst of women, a lot of plantain wasting away when we have, so what are we doing to that?
Can use it for bakery.
No. Even I did a study on it that we can preserve it for at least 6 months, keep it and all that, but don't let me mention this I worked with on that. I had to stop it when I realized I'm not sure we share the same opinion.
Bringing you back to Tokwe's question, like when I served in Benue, the yams were very expensive for the commoners to buy. Wow. They moved out all their yams I don't know where.
Greener pastures.
But for people who are living there, their things were very expensive, and they called it the food basket of nation. At the time, I didn't understand why you'll be producing so much and yet you can barely get enough to eat.
We have to wrap up. So I hear you. So we're all somewhere. Is it fair to say that many of us are just selfish, or we're looking for profit because it's business? That's what it is.
The government needs to incentivize so that people will be incentivized.
You're inviting us to go into farming, but when I enter farming, and I say, oh, the people that are making money are the ones that are selling to your industry.
No. Maybe I should quickly wrap up on that. Really, you can make money on the value chain. On the value chain, not only when you are supplying to industry. You can even produce, process, and supply to, the direct consumers. But as long as we have, it starts with the government, but even individuals, and like I said, we are working with a lot of personal individuals, investors, tech companies to bring in more funds, and the industry is actually good. And challenges also present opportunities. Really.
Yeah, true.
Challenges present opportunities. So now that we've known the problem, what we are doing now is the solution.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show. We'll be speaking to our agriculturist and a farmer. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That is all. Mr. Motunde Banjoko was our guest. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to go break. Break it from the show. When we come back, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. See you there. Bye for now.
Thank you.